£10 a week, it's not a huge amount, but I'm sure that any extra that these unsung heroes, as you call them, get is very, very welcome. How would you fund it?
By changing the inheritance tax, which the Conservatives have given a bit of a giveaway to the better off. By reducing inheritance tax, we would reverse that, and that would be sufficient to pay for this. I think it's the right thing to do. I think carers are really the unsung heroes. They care for many, many people, often in very difficult circumstances, and many have to give up their jobs in order to care for people. It also is partly a problem because of the social care funding crisis as well, which means that there's less and less social care available, so more and more very needy people have to be cared for at home by a relative.
Of course, measures like this are very popular, particularly amongst your supporters. Measures like increasing minimum wage, measures like increasing the top rate of income tax, all of these in polls are popular policies. They only mean anything if you actually get into government. And the same polls show you are universally unpopular. Even amongst Labour supporters, only 45% back you against Theresa May. You have local elections coming up. You haven't had a great result in elections recently. And the Tories have a 21-point lead, which is a historic lead for them. How do you get to a position where you can give carers, for instance, £10 a week
We put
extra?
the policies there, which we're doing on a whole lot of issues. You mentioned minimum wage, you mentioned high street banks, National Investment Bank, procurement policies where public buying power is used to improve behaviour of companies, and many policies such as that are actually very popular. Are you frustrated
that all of those policies aren't translating into electoral support?
Well, I think over time they will. Actually, I think the issue will get out there more and more. People will begin to understand that we don't have to go through these levels of austerity in Britain. We don't have to have these levels of inequality. We don't have to have these levels of poverty in Britain. I think people will begin to see that actually what we're saying makes a lot of credible sense.
OK, now let me put this to you. This was published by GQ magazine overnight. So it's nothing to do with me, this.
I didn't read it myself.
OK, so the headline is Why Arsene Wenger is Arsenal's Jeremy Corbyn. Both 67, both past it, both dogmatically stuck in their ways, both in deep denial about the institutions they're destroying. Now, we're Arsenal fans. Let me read you their 8 points, right? Blind dogma, culture of laziness, neither are bothered about actually winning, both are unsackable, they refuse to listen to their own people, they didn't see it, they have a recent blueprint of success they're not using, and both are dragging a once great institution down with them. Now, amid the frivolity of the comparison, have they got a point, Mr. Corbyn?
No, it's nonsense. Both of us are extremely hard-working people. Arsene Wenger is out on the training ground every morning. I'm out working for the Labour Party.
So you're not lazy?
Absolutely not.
Right, well, what about the rest of it?
Well, I think it's a fairly absurd comparison, actually. Arsenal won 2-1 last night at Middlesbrough. You must be pleased about that,
Yeah,
Piers.
but it's a kind of tokenist win that means nothing when the bigger picture of actually
So when Arsenal win the
power,
Cup, are you going to say this is a tokenist thing that means nothing?
I think the FA Cup has long lost its appeal to big teams. Yeah, but here's the more serious point. You, as Susanna said, you can't do anything without power, right? And at the moment, it seems to be no way of persuading a wider electorate that you're going to be in power.
Why don't you ask me questions about policy? Why are you only asking me questions about polling and me?
Because policy doesn't mean
let me answer that question.
Until you
all right, this is done in a nice, friendly way. No finger wagging here.
No, you're wagging your finger.
This is why. This is why. It's because all the headlines tend to be negative about you and your ability to lead. If you had a more forceful personality, goes the argument, if you're able to sell your message over, take someone like Donald Trump. Why did he win in America? Because he was brilliant at projecting a message. You may not like the message, but his projection of it made him very electable.
Well, let's be clear, he actually lost in America, but he won in the Electoral College.
He didn't lose, he won.
He lost by 2 million votes, actually.
Well, only one person's in the White House, and it's not Hillary Clinton.
I fully understand
and the point
that.
is,
the point I'm making is that he was not overwhelmingly popular.
But you win the popular vote with your own membership every day, right? It gets more and more popular. You are incredibly popular with Labour members. Unfortunately, rather like the analogy I've just given in America, at the moment, it looks like no chance of being Prime Minister.
I am very determined to get our policies out there. Our policies on decent pay, our policies on the behaviour of companies, our policy on investment, our policy on mental health, our policy on social care, the kind of society
Why aren't
that you
people
and
hearing it?
partly because many people only ever want to talk about polls and want to talk about my
When you're
image and so
21
on.
points behind,
Well,
Jeremy, surely at that point, even the penny drops with you, you've got a big problem. And they want to know, how are you going to fix
the
it?
big problem is in this country is inequality, is injustice, is poverty, is homelessness, is the schools funding crisis, is the poverty of many of our children, is the housing crisis. All of these issues are addressed by Labour. All of these issues we challenge the government on. All of these issues you'll hear more and more from Labour about over the next few weeks.